City of Greenfield Common Council meeting held on Tuesday, May 5th, 2020 at 7 p.m. The meeting is called to order. We are broadcasting by Zoom, and this meeting is reviewable on YouTube. Go to our website for further information. Every attempt has been made to accommodate anyone that wants to attend this meeting. If you visit the city clerk's website, there are information with regard to accommodating the meeting and speaking at the meeting and registering for the meeting. So with that being said, would you please call the roll?
Alderperson Collins.
Present.
Alderperson Bailey.
Present.
Alderperson Kastner.
Present.
Alderperson Akers.
Present.
Alderperson Sarian.
Present.
Item 2 is opening prayer. We have Deacon Leggett with us this evening.
Okay. Let us pause for prayer. Almighty and eternal God, God of all hope, we call upon you this evening for your guidance. We pray for those living in fear of this coronavirus, fear for themselves, and fear for their loved ones. May your Spirit give us a sense of calmness and peace as we gather together this evening. We ask for your protection on all those who are sick, for the families of all who have died, for our healthcare workers and first responders who are working tirelessly. Inspire and invigorate our research doctors to develop better tests to diagnose this virus and to create vaccines quickly to prevent its return in the future. As we now look with hope and for ending of our sheltering, we pray that the future will allow us to get our way of living back to the way it was. Dear God, we pray for our leaders, our president, our vice president and their staff, our governor and local leaders, that they will make the right decisions to restore our community safely to what it was. And lastly, dear Lord, we also ask for your guidance on this common council as they gather to make decisions in the way that are best for this community. God bless us and the citizens of this community. Lord God, we trust in you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very, very much. For the
You're
Pledge of
welcome.
Allegiance, we're not going to stand this time. I've been assured that each of you has a flag in your office there. Let's begin the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under all,
God,
Indivisible, with liberty
and justice for
for
all.
all.
Thank you. Moving along to item D, I'd entertain a motion to approve the April 21st, 2020 minutes.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Alderperson Akers, seconded by Alderperson Collins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Under E, Mayor's report, this item E1 is the appointment of the weed commissioners. I would reappoint Mark Gregory, Mr. Cavett, and Mr. Name as our weed commissioners. Every year every year we reappoint a weed commissioner to enforce the weed ordinances throughout the city. It's required by law that we do it this way. I'd entertain a motion to approve those. It essentially falls in the hands of Mark Gregory. Mr. Name and Mr. Cavett, I think, are on more of a part-time basis now with regard to this, but I'd like to appoint them all so they all have equal authority.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Akers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Kastner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Uh, E2 is discussion decision regarding the 4th of July parade and fireworks. That decision is upon us. You've probably noticed all of the major closures with regard to major public events throughout the region and area and country. It was pretty clear that with the 4th of July parade coming, that would be very, very difficult to do. The fireworks themselves too. I don't know if Scott is here to explain how that contract works, but essentially they're about $24,000 a year to do. Last year, when we entered into the contract for this year, we had to provide a $4,400 down payment. We provided 4,000 of that. Scott's working with the vendor with regard to fireworks next year. There was also the opportunity to potentially postpone fireworks until the fall. From my perspective, that might be a bit difficult to do since we don't know what the future holds. So I would sort of open this up for discussion. Does anyone think that we should continue to have the 4th of July parade this year?
No.
With regard to fireworks, I know there's been some that have talked about, I think the option is either postponing them or canceling for 2020 and having a better display next year potentially. What are your thoughts on that?
I see no point in postponing it, because what event are you gonna, you could create another big event, but back to your point, what's the status of social gathering at that point? So you're gonna pick a day in fall, and what is that?
Agreed.
It's nothing
And it could
worthy
snow.
of fireworks.
It could snow. It could snow tomorrow.
I agree with Carl. I would say instead of postponing it, I would rather see it next year, or unless if we did do something, sometimes we do have a couple of things going on in fall, but who knows how long this will go on. I know we do have like a car show thing going on, and park and recreation. They also have, in fall, they have a walk that goes on. Like a Halloween walk where kids can come in,
Yeah.
families can come in costume and stuff. But truthfully, I would just rather see it go to next year. I think the fireworks, I would rather just postpone or not do it at all this year.
And that is possible with the contract then to enhance next year's was.
Potentially. I mean, we'll see what the budget looks like too, but we will have saved approximately $20,000 by not doing the fireworks this year, which could either make next year's better or be used for next year.
But having it at the car show maybe that night, I would be open to that.
Yeah,
You know,
one of the issues with
sure.
people that have old cars is they don't like debris, especially burning debris falling on it.
Move out, but
Hot.
before that,
Yeah, so I mean, that's probably
by 6 o'clock, aren't they?
usually before then. I think now it's about 5, 6. They stay. They clear up pretty quickly, actually.
I know.
They take a lot longer getting in.
I have a grandson, and I think he'd appreciate to have him in the fall. But I don't know.
Yeah. Any other further discussion? Does someone want to take some action with regard to the parade and the fireworks?
I move that the 4th of July parade be canceled and the fireworks for 2020 be canceled.
Motion by Alderperson Zarian, second by Alderperson Kastner. Any further discussion? Okay, just quickly under discussion.
Wait.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to hold out for hope in the fall, so I'll be voting no.
Do you
Ham,
want to separate the question?
Ham,
Bruce, just quickly,
comment.
Bruce, do you agree that the parade should be canceled?
Yes, yes.
So can we separate the question? Let's
Yes.
do it that way. Does the maker and the seconder of the motion support that? So
yes.
I'd entertain a motion to close or to cancel the 4th of July parade this year. That would be Alderperson Sarian's first part of her motion, which was seconded by Kastner. All
Did
in
everyone
favor?
see the chat input by Pam Panich?
No, I
Our
can't.
committee thinks it makes sense to cancel.
Okay.
I have Scott texting me asking if we can hear him.
No,
No, he's
And
he's
muted.
muted.
it doesn't look like, is
Now he
he?
just
on?
turned off.
He's there now.
Now,
I just wanted to add, I know I did talk to Pam earlier, so we kind of talked about a couple different scenarios. Obviously, I think everybody kind of agrees that to try and pull off the event on the 4th of July is just way too dicey, way too questionable to try and move forward with that. If we are to cancel the fireworks, the way I read and understand the contract, and I did send it off to Brian, is we would be out about 20%, about $4,400 would be the cancellation fee. If we were going to look at reschedule or moving them to a later date, that is $100 to reschedule. So if that's the car show, which seems to be possibly the one item where it could go to, which is September 12th. The car show would go on as normal. Cars generally pull out of there by 4. We could have a band come in. Again, this is all
We
contingent
can't do,
upon
I mean,
where we
that's
are.
just, you know that.
And then if we have the car show, or the fireworks would be a little bit, later, but not as late as it would be on the 4th of July. So that's one scenario. And I guess if it's still not doable at some point in, I don't know, we make a decision on July or something like that, or later, then
Just
we
one,
can't.
one quick question for you, Scott. Does it say when it has to be rescheduled?
I'm not sure if well, I think within the calendar year. I don't think it's,
Does it say in the calendar year?
I don't recall it saying it all. I think it
So
just said
this is-
reschedule.
So this is the last year of our contract. I'd have no objection to rescheduling to July 4th of 2021. I mean, if it
Great.
doesn't, I mean, that's legal. I mean,
I-
that's.
yeah.
And it
or we
is
could
the
do
last
2
year,
nights of it, do July 3rd and July 4th.
potentially. Would the maker of the motion and the seconder concur that rescheduling to July 4th of 2021 makes sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that would be consistent, I think, with the terms of the contract. I didn't see anything in it when I looked at it, and I just briefly skimmed it that said that it had to be within the calendar year or within a certain time frame.
Can we postpone the vote on the fireworks and vote? I thought we were talking about the parade.
We're talking about the parades, but Scott brought up the fireworks. You're right. So let's get back to the motion for the parade. And I think everyone agrees that the parade should be canceled this year. So the motion was made and seconded to cancel the parade. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. With regard to the fireworks now, we're splitting the question. The motion was made by Alderperson Sarian, seconded by Kastner, the original motion, to cancel the fireworks this year. And we've received some additional input from Mr. Jackwish concerning the potential losing of the deposit unless we postpone the fireworks. Maybe a friendly amendment to that motion to postpone the fireworks until July 4th of 2021 is in order.
I think so.
What it essentially does, though, too, is it extends the term of our contract beyond July 4th of this year into
Right.
next year, right?
And it's
I would,
going to be.
I would make the amendment to the motion to postpone the 4th of July fireworks to July 4th, 2021.
Carl,
I
you agree?
concur.
Okay.
That'll get us a best bang for the buck.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Carl. The only problem that exactly, you took the words out of my mouth. The only thing that I was wondering about, our contract with them ends at the end of this year, though.
Well, our contract ends at the 4th of July, right? Because that's
Right.
when we have to perform by. But if we postpone the contract, and I don't have the contract in front of me, I
Right.
apologize.
Yeah,
And
and
Brian will have to look at that. Certainly, if the contract says that you have to have it within 30 days or with the next day that it's bright and sunny out or dark and not sunny or cloudy.
Yeah, but then
Um,
we could fight too, look what's going on.
Right. I mean, we've had a long history, I think, with
We
this,
do.
with Spielbauer. I think they would work with us. Scott was talking about beginning the contract renegotiations for next year.
Mhm.
This essentially delays maybe that decision, and maybe this decision can be in concert with extending the contract for 22 and 23 or something, like
Okay,
we've historically done.
okay,
I'll leave that to Scott and Brian to work out.
okay.
Scott, could you
Yeah.
please remind me, what is the total cost of the fireworks for this year?
Well, the deposit is actually paid at the end of the previous year. That 4,000, the 4,000 was paid out of 2019.
Okay.
So basically the cost of the fireworks, and I'm grabbing that right now. I do it in front of
Yeah, the full amount is 22,250
Yeah.
each year. And as Director Jaquish notes, there is a $4,000 down payment that's made as you kind of enter that year each year.
Okay.
Okay.
But if we're gonna lose $4,000, if we have it in September, maybe we won't lose the $4,000. But by doing this, we're gonna lose the 4,000, right?
Well,
No,
to be honest with you, I'd rather lose the 4,000 and save the, what is it, 20,000 or
18?
18,000. We're gonna save 18,000 if we don't have the fireworks. We are gonna lose the 4,000, but we're going to save the other, so.
Not necessarily. If we postpone till next year and they allow
Right,
that, then we
I
wouldn't be
understand.
sacrificing the $4,000.
but if we can't postpone it, whatever the contract reads, well, I don't know.
Mhm.
But
Well, then I'd like to make a motion to postpone this discussion until next month, so we'd have more information on whether we are gonna lose the 4,000 if we had it in September, or can we carry on the contract for 2021 and not lose the 4,000?
so as part of the motion as it exists now is to postpone the fireworks until 2021, which seems that it's allowable under the current contract. In the event that that changes within the next 2 weeks, I think Brian and Scott can look at it more closely.
We could
Then
reconsider,
we
couldn't
can
we?
revisit the issue at the next council meeting. But at this point, I think it's important to put the fireworks folks on notice that the desire is not to have fireworks this year on the 4th of July for sure. I think, Spielbauer has been very, very accommodating to us over the course of time. Does that make sense, Brian?
And I was going to effectively suggest kind of the same thing, that we'll work with Spielbauer, and if need be, we can bring back whatever we need to bring back if things don't look like they're going to work.
I think that's the best thing to do. I mean, clearly we don't want to lose $4,000,
Right.
but it's better than losing $22,000 potentially.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
throw up fireworks that no one's gonna watch anyhow because no one's there, because.
I would watch them. I would watch them.
I would imagine you will. Whether you want to or not.
And I keep my social distance with my grandson, who's 8 years old, and we keep our social distance, and we watch them probably from the police department parking lot.
well, we'll split the $22,000 cost between Pam and Bruce then.
No,
That'll
I
be
I
great.
just said if you shoot them up, I'll watch.
Yeah, I mean, just so you guys understand too, Scott did some analysis, I think, with a drone with regard to what the attendance is at our fireworks. Scott, did you say it was about 20,000 people?
Well, it wasn't quite a drone. We're not quite that sophisticated, but I worked with the DNS and did the mathematical equation based upon every person occupying like 10 square feet. And it was actually, and then we kind of marked off where people generally are sit and how they're compacted. And there's probably 18 to 20,000 people in the park. That's not outside the park. That's within the property of the park. Watching.
Yeah, there's a lot outside the park on our side
You can-
watching.
It is a large gathering in a large area.
Okay.
Can I
Just so
call a question?
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Did you-
Alderperson
Oh, call
Collins.
the question.
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
No.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers,
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries 4-1. Now, Bruce, just, and so you're all clear, Brian and Scott will be working with the fireworks company. If there's a dramatic change and it doesn't work out like the motion was intended, we can revisit it in 2 weeks, okay?
I think we're acting prematurely.
I note that, and the only reason I'm bringing it up right now, though, too, is the Big Bang has been canceled, I believe, right?
Right.
A lot of the other communities are also canceling their fireworks.
If we
So-
didn't cancel, we could have a lot more people coming.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's another issue, right? So people are going to go where they are potentially, which, and we don't know what the future holds in the end of May, June, or July. But it seems pretty apparent that most of the major events are being canceled at least through the 4th of July. Okay. Okay, item number E3 is approved resolution ratifying mayoral COVID-19 emergency proclamation number 5. This relates to a contract that we entered into with the other municipalities in Milwaukee County. It's a purchasing contract, a joint purchasing contract. It's unclear whether or not we're going to partake in it, but it's a good option to have in the event that we need to purchase PPE or other critical, difficult to find items and equipment. I'd entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Kastner.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Second by Alderperson Collins. Just quickly under discussion, what I do is I issue emergency orders so that we can expedite these things, right? And then I seek these resolutions to ratify those temporary emergency orders. Is that a fair statement, Brian?
Yeah, that's by statute, that's the way that it is designed to work.
Just quickly also under mayoral report, today I watched the Supreme Court argument. Did anybody watch that on Wisconsin Eye? The legislature has brought a suit against the governor, and it's actually against Palm, who's the DHS director. Basically saying that the governor's order overstepped its bounds. Have no idea how that's going. This is very similar to that. There's an order out there, right, that I've proclaimed under emergency, and I seek you're the legislative body, I seek your ratification of my order. While the state issue is a lot more complicated, there is an emergency order. There's a couple of them. The legislature it believes that it should be entitled to rulemaking, I believe, to handle the crisis. Okay, so have no idea how that's going to turn out. I know the health directors have all been working feverishly to try to come up with an interim order. No one knows what the Wisconsin Supreme Court case outcome will be. It could be that the court rules that the governor's order isn't valid anymore, that it's over, which means that an order needs to be in place somewhere, unless there aren't, because there would be no order with regard to dealing with the pandemic. The legislature also seemed to suggest that they would seek getting rid of the order, but having a 6-day stay in which an opportunity would be granted in order to create some kind of interim decision with regard to what an order, what the rules should look like. No one really knows what's happening. I know John and Darren and everybody else, all the health directors, the city attorneys, they're all looking at this stuff to figure out what to do depending on what the Wisconsin Supreme Court does. So not sure when that ruling's coming. Guessing probably this week sometime, but no one knows for sure. It clearly wasn't as quick as the election decision of a few weeks ago. Okay. Let's see what else. The other thing that we're at the ICC, just to kind of bring you up to date, the WMC, Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, has come up with a back to work plan that's out there in draft form. we as mayors and village presidents throughout the county are trying to marry that plan along with the best health research that's out there. The Medical College of Wisconsin, the health directors, and all those folks to try to come up with a real plan to get everyone back to work in a safe manner. It's clearly not going to be a light switch. I think everybody understands that. I think everybody understands that it's going to be a slow process, but I think it's pretty apparent that we all have an interest in trying to get the economy, the baby steps thing going here a little bit more, right? To try to get it reopened. Um, it's a complicated mess because there's two mutually exclusive items here, right? One is a strong economy and one is a safe population or protected, and the two of them don't cross easily, right? But I think folks are taking it very seriously. I know we all are. So, okay. Any aldermanic reports?
Should we say something about the Mobilize MKE?
The Mobilize MKE, yes, this Saturday, and I don't have it in front of me, the flyer. We'll have the community center providing food. I would encourage you to go to our website and our Facebook and social media to follow up on that. There will be currently, I think it's 500 bags distributed. There's a plan. There are no walk-ups. You have to follow the signs, and it'll be curbside pickup. I encourage you to go to our website and the social media to pick that up. I don't have the flyer with me. I apologize for that.
I believe it's 9 o'clock in the morning to 2 p.m.
I think it's 9 to 2 or until supplies last.
No, it's
I have
10,
no
10
idea.
to 2.
What is
10
it?
to 2, 10 to 2.
10 to 2? Okay.
And there's also, if people wanted to donate, there's, places you can donate to.
Yeah, if you go to if you Google Mobilize Milwaukee, 10 to 12 local
It's
churches.
Mobilize MKE.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Mobilize MKE. A number of churches in the area have begun food drives to feed those that need it. We've partnered with the Ridge Church more specifically. There's been a pretty significant amount of donations through the Ridge. We kickstarted it with some of our dollars. Got some tremendous pricing from Meyer. They've been very, very helpful throughout all this process.
I have the list of the churches that are involved if you want that. Victory of the Lamb, the Ridge Community Church, both Greenfield and Oak Creek, Faith Community Church in Franklin, Ephesians Missionary Baptist Church, Southbrook Church in Franklin, and Elm Tabernacle.
For the 12 people that are actually watching,
Mhm.
getting into this thing is pretty complicated, so I'd look it up.
Is it? Is it hard to get to?
No,
Well,
just I think the instructions on
how
you
the
do the
driving
pickup.
the
instructions?
driving instructions.
Yeah, you enter. Is it off 72nd Street? What street?
71st in Cold Spring.
71st and Cold Spring. Yep. So you would go there and you kind of wind through.
Mhm.
We don't know how well it's been marketed. We don't know how many folks are showing up. But we'd ask everyone to follow the instructions and be courteous while we figure this out. Okay.
Mhm.
So I believe the intention is for people, for Greenfield families who really need the food to pick it up.
Right.
And it's going to be for the next 3 Saturdays.
That's right.
Right.
And it's like divided by each meal. Like, isn't it breakfast, lunch, and dinner? There's
No, I don't. Kind of tried to do the best we could. One of the issues that we ran into is much of the food, like we wanted peanut butter and jelly, right? There's no jelly anywhere, so we couldn't. Yeah, I know.
I have stuff in my bag that I'm
Or there
going
are
to
limits on
off that's some
purchase.
jelly in
One or
it.
2 jars.
Uh-huh.
Other items are more readily available. While we try to create, a menu, that. Oops.
Whose phone?
So go to the website; it'll tell you. Okay.
Okay.
Announcements with regard to Arbor Day at Kowicki, just to let you know, they planted, I think it's 13 trees over there. DPW did. The path from the Ridge Church and St. Vincent de Paul down the hill is proceeding well. It's really, really looking good over there. I want to thank everybody at Public Works and Parks for that. I also want to again thank Franklin, who donated a ton of film material to this project, which actually saved us a bunch of money. I don't have any other announcements. Citizen commentary.
I have, two
Oh,
announcements.
so go ahead.
I
Go
have two announcements. The Salvation Army Cold Spring has begun a shoe drive through July 24th. Please help raise 300 pairs of shoes for children sizes 3.5 to 7. New shoes can be dropped off at the Salvation Army, 2900 West Cold Spring, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Cash donations are also accepted. $20 equals 1 pair of shoes. For more information, call 414-763-9797.
Shirley,
And
I'm
yes.
sorry because it kind of got funny. What were the shoe sizes that they were looking for? 3.5 to what?
3.5 to 7.
To 7. Okay. Thank
But
you.
yeah, if you have larger new shoes, though, I'm sure they will be appreciated also. And then the next, I think it's an announcement. Professional Municipal Clerks Week is May 3rd through 9th. I'd like to give a shout out to my favorite city clerk, Jennifer Gergen.
And her staff.
And the staff. Woo woo!
I will
Thank
proclaim.
you.
I will proclaim this week City Clerks Weeks in the city of Greenfield and draft the appropriate proclamation with all of your permission.
Yes.
Excellent idea.
The thing is, I'll ask Jennifer to type it up though.
Yes.
That's okay. Thank
That
you.
increased.
Jennifer, type something up for yourself there.
Embellish as you want.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, moving on. Any other commentary, announcements, anything going on?
Just that there's going to be in the library, some new artwork is going to be hung in the library in the middle of May.
Awesome.
Will we get to see it?
Yeah, curbside pickup has begun there too, right?
Yes.
At the
yeah.
library. So you should go to our website to see all the specifics with regard to curbside pickup. It's very nice that service is coming back. I also just want to remind everybody about the virtual recreation opportunities that are available on our website. Actually, Scott, I think they've been pretty well received by many. And let's hope that we can actually begin recreating normally soon, right? So, but that's been a great thing, Scott. Thank you very much. With regard to citizen commentary, there hasn't been anybody registered, I don't think. With regard to old business under I don't have any mayoral appointments for any of the positions. Continue to look for Board of Review, Tree Commission, Board of Appeals, and Zoning. Yeah, for Zoning Board of Appeals. So if you know anybody who wants to sit on those committees or commissions, please let me know. Moving along to item J, new business. Item J1 is award the bid for publishing legal notices. Jennifer and I went through that bidding process. Only one newspaper bid. Jennifer, do you want to go into the specifics?
I wonder who it was.
Yeah.
Of course, it was the Southwest Now. And Sherry did upload the new information into the portal for you. So if you wanted to see the committee report and whatnot, there's a price increase this year, and it has to do with they're changing the font size to 6 points as opposed to 8-point font. Technically, they're saying if they left it at 8-point font, there wouldn't be a price increase, but because they can add more words or language to a line, there's a price increase for this. The price increase, the rates are set by the state, so they are charging based on the state's rates. When I asked about the why 6-point, it seemed small. They did say that other newspapers such as the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel have been using 6-point font for a while, and the Now newspapers are one of the only newspaper around still using 8, which is why they decided to make the switch.
Yeah, the 6-point font is incredibly small.
It just doesn't matter though. I mean, I'd make a motion to deny accepting of the contract. We mentioned 5 or 6 times tonight where to find information on our city. It's on our website. Everything is on our website.
Yeah.
You get that newspaper today, you have to spray it down with disinfectant in order to read it. And that's not trying to be funny. That's real.
Yeah.
So what's the point of publishing something that you really can't read?
Or they don't publish
It's
for
an
us when they're
amazing
supposed to.
situation.
Sorry.
Can we call it that?
Yeah. I mean, a couple things. One is you know that I've been against
Yeah.
them for a really long time. But Jennifer got the information from them today with regard to how many subscribers there actually are. It's about 4,200, I think, within the city to
That's
the
correct.
Milwaukee Journal. I looked at the statute. So we have 37,000 people in our community, right? The statute says 1,000. As long as they serve 1,000 people, right? I looked at the 6-point font issue, and the Department of Administration changed the rules in December of 2019 to allow for 6-point font, which is so tiny. What's the point of providing a notice in a newspaper that doesn't go to very many folks anymore, that you can't even see what is being noticed, probably without a magnifying glass? I mean, this is another one of those issues where continue to work with our representatives, our state senator, to have the same kind of notice that villages and towns are allowed under some, I guess, not so recent legislative changes. I think those happened 3 or 4 years ago. We provide more notice than our official newspaper. And most people within our community, the vast majority, never see that newspaper. The folks that can see the newspaper can't read the print. So it's a challenge. Part of me, so Jennifer, just one quick question. If we kept it at an 8-point font, it would be less expensive, but it would take up more space, right?
They're saying, I believe it would be the same cost.
We should keep it at
That's the
8-point
way-
font then.
I think that, if I'm understanding correctly, it would be the same cost as it is now.
Okay,
We
then
have
That
the
was the way I
option to
understood
keep
it.
it at 8, or do we have to switch
and-
it to 6?
they would
And
prefer
that I
that we
don't
switch it
know
to
that we have the option.
So we have to take 6-point?
I didn't specifically ask that question, but it sounds like all of the now newspapers were switching to the 6-point.
I would
And the
imagine.
reason they're doing that, it takes up less space, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a dramatically shrinking newspaper.
But they can charge you more too.
Yeah. It's so we're going to charge you more per line because we can give you smaller lines
Mm-hmm. That no one can read.
that no one can read. I mean, we have to do it. We don't have to do it, but the statute defaults us back to as if we did do it, in essence. So we don't, this is one of my pet peeves going, excuse me, going way back. So
I've never heard that from you before.
every time we do one of these bids, I go off. I've had for 22 years now. And it's gotten worse progressively. I'd entertain a
Well-
motion to accept the bid. We don't have to.
And if we don't, what?
Then they continue to charge. Well, as I understand it, Brian, they would continue to charge us in a time and manner like they had been.
Right. It basically just means that we then utilize them without a contract at the same rates. So it
We just can't stop publishing is the
pretty
problem.
much, pretty much. I mean, if we had another option, that would be one thing. But we clearly,
We don't.
well, I mean, we arguably have another option. You could go to the Journal and pay even more.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to vote on it or just let it?
Well, if we don't vote on it and we don't go with a contract, they can change the price at any point, can't they?
I don't think so.
The,
Oh, they
the
could
price
mix
is
it
set
up.
by statute, and so and it's, as I recall, without looking, Jennifer, you might be able to remember for sure, but I think it's based on some CPI index that the Department of Administration sets every year. So they wouldn't be able to change it unless the Department of Administration changed it. So.
And that is correct, Brian.
Okay, so no action is necessarily required. Does the council wish to take any action? Doesn't sound like it. J2, discussion decision to accept a grant from the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District to fund the planting of street trees. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Alderperson Bailey, second by Alderperson Akers.
That's not even a matching, it's a straight grant.
Yeah, it's a straight $170,211.
It's 590 trees.
It's awesome.
That is awesome.
Motion was made and seconded. Would you please call?
I have one question.
You're in the tree commission. You shouldn't have any questions.
I know, but this is great. This is a great thing that happened, and I'm real pleased with Jeff Katz and our city forester Dennis Firmanek. But I have a question on one of the places where the trees are going to go. If you go down to page 3 on that document, it says 82nd Street to 81st Street, and it doesn't give a cross street. It says 1,000 feet west to south. So I don't know where those trees are going to go. I live on 81st Street, but so anybody know, Jeff, did you know how, why that is written that way?
We have more details on some drawings. We couldn't, it was just not something that we necessarily have in what you have, but we can tell you exactly where Dennis intends to plant those trees.
Oh,
Do you know
okay.
where it's about? Do you kind of know where it's about, Jeff?
Yeah, it's, well, just by the streets. So we have certain areas. We're trying to distribute them throughout the whole city. So there's going to be trees in every single aldermanic district. Plus, there's a lot of trees that are in places where trees have died, or there's like one missing tree or two missing trees.
Where a tree's been hit, you don't have it on Layton
Yeah,
Avenue.
things
One
like
of mine got wiped out several years ago.
Oh, so yeah. So I can find out, you know, if-
Specifically where it is on 81st.
and I can figure that out.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I just wanted to point out that Jeff and his team up there have brought into the city about $1.3 to $1.4 million in grants just within the last couple of common council meetings,
Beautiful.
Awesome.
which is pretty nice.
We kind of earn our keep.
You earn your keep. I just think I'm really proud of you guys for that. I know everybody else is too. So the motion was made and seconded. Would you please call?
Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers,
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Okay, item J3, motion carries unanimously. J3 is a discussion decision regarding a request to construct a new private fence and a city utility easement in the rear yard of 4616 West Wilbur Avenue. I'd entertain a motion to approve if there's no
Motion to
objection.
approve.
By Kastner, is there a
It was
second?
well written.
I'll second.
Second by Collins. Would you please call?
Yes, just a moment. Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers,
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I'd like to take items J4, 5, and 6 together. These are mileage reimbursements, schedules of disbursements, investments, and reinvestments. Entertain a motion to approve those items that are typically at the Finance Committee.
I move for approval.
Motion by Alderperson Sarian. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Castor. Would you please call?
Yes. Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers,
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Items for future agenda. I see Darren's on the line. At some point in the future, we may have a health order coming through, right? Or we may have agreements or consortiums or something with regard to health orders coming through, depending on what the Wisconsin Supreme Court does. We'll keep you apprised of that as it flows through the system. I personally want to thank Darren and everyone else that's working with the city or on behalf of the city fighting this crisis. Darren has been working 10, 12, 14-hour days nonstop for 4, 5, 6 weeks. Appreciate his dedication to the city like I think we all do. He has the best interests of our residents in his mind and heart and his work product like we all do. And I just want to thank him for that. I want to thank everybody else too that's working so diligently these challenging times. Even conducting meetings like this, takes a little bit of effort until we get our feet on the ground and operating in a more normal fashion. I want to thank all of you folks for being so supportive too in everything that we're trying to accomplish. I can assure you that in other communities, it's not always this tranquil. Thank you all. You guys are awesome alderpersons. Seriously, it's not a joke.
And you're good too, Mike.
I don't want that. I want you guys. I mean, you guys do a great job. I want to thank Brian for joining us from Madison there. Sarasota, Winona. God, it's
What
still
about
light
me?
there.
I'm in San Francisco. Come on.
It's still light there. Wow, it's bright. I mean, it's so gray here, right?
I did see
I'm going to
Darren.
get that background before the next meeting, and I'm getting a haircut, which I haven't had in almost 2.5 months. So I apologize for that. Where you guys getting your haircut, man? You should. Or I guess
I saw Darren on TV, and he represented Greenfield well.
Huh? What was that?
I
He
saw
said-
Darren on TV talking about COVID-19, and he represented Greenfield very well.
Yes.
So Darren's been an expert. I mean, Darren's been in the New York Times, CNN, I think the Washington Post, with regard to the big outbreak or the cluster that we had. He's done a very, very good job. I'm very, very proud of him, and I know we all are.
Is Darren going to say anything, or is he going to stay?
No, he's just going to sit there and bask in his glow, probably wearing some
There you go.
Oh, there he is.
some bumblebee attire or cubby attire.
Tuesday and Thursday, 3:30.
Yeah.
My media days.
Yeah. Okay. But thank you all. Thanks to Julie and Scott too, with regard to this food thing, and the folks at DPW. It's been a huge effort to get that going. It's not as simple as you think it is, organizing it and coordinating volunteers. I think it's for a good purpose in the city. And I really think they did a great job pulling it apart, or pulling it together, I guess, not apart. Things are happening. Final thing, just I guess going back to Mayoral report, if on the news tonight, you'll probably see something about a high-speed trace that originated in the city. Not sure if it's on YouTube yet. I don't know where it is.
Yes.
It's on Facebook.
Is it on Facebook? Okay.
Yes.
So a certain amount of applause goes out to the professionalism of our police department. And without getting too into details, that police officer at the end was much more patient than I probably would have been as a guy who's trying to run me over.
Kind of been the consensus on Facebook that
It was.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want y'all to realize that, getting back to what Deacon Leggett said at the beginning, we really are blessed to have great police officers and firefighters that are doing the same stuff like that every day. You see that example because it's one of the more extreme examples, but there's stuff happening like that all the time.
I was just expecting our police chief to be here tonight looking for more vehicles.
Yeah, well, we worry about the vehicles, but
I mean, he was here last week for one, so I thought, well,
But by the same token, when you have a policy that's done professionally, with the public safety at mind and the protection of the public at mind or in mind, it works. It works. The only way to sort of, in my opinion, is to defer criminal activity and carjackings and car thefts, is to make sure that there's some recognized consequences if you do it, right?
Right.
In the old days, that wasn't the case, and in some of our larger neighboring communities, and that kind of behavior was pretty rampant. So I just want to, I'm glad our officer is okay. All of our officers are okay. I was impressed by the professionalism, not only in the driving, but how they handled it at the end. Um, and I want to thank them. I'm sure, as all of you do as well. They're really, really good at what they do. Um, that's all I got. Anybody got anything for the next agenda? The health orders are clearly the big thing. You know, how the summer is going to progress is clearly a big thing that continues to be an open issue. And then we start the budget, right, in about a month and a half. We're still trying to figure out where we are with regard to the to revenues, the special revenue funds. Everything lags, so we don't know what the impact is going to be yet for lost revenues through either traffic tickets or EMS billings or library fines or permits or whatever. I will note one thing today. I received or I opened the occupancy report that Allison does monthly. It was the first month that I remember that there were no new occupancies in either commercial or residential. It might have been that way last month because I'm not sure I looked at it, but it's the first time I remember that, or I remember seeing that. So there's going to clearly be a revenue issue for the city moving forward. It's difficult to figure out right now because the reporting of the numbers always lag a little bit. But we're working closely with trying to mirror that up with what the expected revenues have been over the course historically to now and where we think they should be. What does that mean? That means that going into the next month or two, we may need to make some hard decisions with regard to expenses. We aren't the federal government where we can essentially spend money and then print more later, right? We are obligated to have a balanced budget every year, and we need to make sure that we do, which necessitates some often difficult choices. Okay.
So I think I've heard or read that there are, I mean, for the next meeting's agenda, if we can garner monies from the state or federal government, I'm sure that we are applying.
Yeah. So what we're doing, and this is an item for a future agenda, and I know Brian is kind of going, well, you're deviating a little bit, but this is for future discussion and just enlightenment of that future discussion. We have dedicated ourselves to trying to find every revenue stream that's apparent in the CARES Acts, right? One of the things that you might have seen on the news is that, you know, state and local government funding was excluded from the last CARES package, and the argument was that it'll be in the next one. And then one of the senators said something like, well, I guess the states will just have to go bankrupt because we shouldn't pay, right? You heard all that stuff, right? Which was pretty. And I understand that when you're Illinois and you're running a structural deficit, you know, that the COVID crisis should make up your shortfall. But clearly the states throughout this, and especially the local governments, because most of it's been pushed to us to handle, as opposed to historically when it gets pushed upward, have incurred a lot of costs that are extraordinary. So we're hoping the Congress has state and local funding in its future, and we're continuing to look at all the stuff that has passed to see what kind of reimbursements that we can get for the actions that we've taken so far. The thing that you shouldn't expect is for some sort of federal funding that's going to make up for the permit revenue or the traffic ticket revenue or whatever the revenue was that you may have lost through the crisis. That I don't see that being something that they're going to reimburse. I could see them paying for overtime for firefighters or police officers or health department personnel, you know, involved in testing or contact tracing or whatever. But I don't see those normal kind of revenues being reimbursed that have been lost through this process.
That probably should come from the state as they're running the surplus the last couple of years, so they probably should funnel some of that money down to the local municipalities, but I don't see that happening either.
Yeah, I'm not, so I mean, the reality, I think, and this is for future discussion, we wouldn't want to discuss it now, but the state is struggling just as well. I mean, their costs are extraordinarily high, and their revenue streams are down. Fishing licenses, motor vehicle registrations. I mean, all that stuff, right? Everything that they get.
The UW systems are
UW system,
hurting.
lack
Like
of tuition, lack of
we're
room
all being
for.
furloughed at UWM.
Yep. And then you look into going into next year too with the universities. Will they even have kids in the dorms? And if they don't have kids in the dorms, they don't have revenue streams. And if they don't
At this point, we're being
the
told at
conflict.
UWM to expect to potentially be online for fall again.
Okay.
So, yeah.
With a
This
dramatic
is a firework question.
well, hopefully there's a dramatic decrease in tuition costs at UWM being online since my son's going there next year.
Usually there's a fee increase for online courses. Do you know that?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of technology.
Somehow that just doesn't seem right to me. But all right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn at
So moved.
7:56 by
Akers.
Alderperson Akers, second.
Second.
Second by Alderperson Kastner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:56. Thank you, guys.